Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. It's fantastic that you're here. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video on the iconic 80s movie, The Blues Brothers. You know, we're on a mission from God and we have to get the band back together and the 104 cars that got destroyed in that movie. It is an absolutely classic, iconic movie, and if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favour and watch it. And in that video, we talked about the fact that we all need people in this world that we can do life with, people that we can talk to, people that we can just sit with. Everybody needs somebody. Well, we go from there to get the old records off the shelf. I want to listen to them by myself. The same today's music ain't got the same soul like the old time rock and roll. Well, that was my attempt at that song anyway. We're going to him today, and over the between 1969 and 2017, he has released 18 albums and 66 singles. There's been a few incarnations about him, and of course the guy we're talking about is rock legend Bob Seger. He's had a group called the Bob Seger System. He's also done a bit of solo work, and he was also with the iconic Silver Bullet Band for a while. And it's been estimated he's sold 75 million albums worldwide, which makes him quite successful in the scheme of things. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004 and the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2012. And so we're talking about an absolute music legend today, Bob Seger. Of course, when he came out with that song, Old Time Rock and Roll, he was really saying to the world, hey guys, I'm into rock and roll and nothing else. And certainly through his career, he's kept to that. He has tried to capture all that makes rock and roll, the energy and the music and the production of his songs very much is kept in the rock genre. And so you put him very much as a rock artist, pretty much. Not heavy rock, but certainly rock. All the elements of rock are there, you know, scathing guitars and massive drums and piano and all the rest of it that makes rock so compelling. And yes, if you are going to put yourself and say old time rock and roll, you've got to be able to pull this stuff off live. And Bob Seger is a compelling artist on stage, and you'll get to see some of his clips in a little while. So it's an interesting. I really love the straight talking Bob Seger and his thoughtfulness about life, and his thoughtfulness about what is important and what isn't. And I think there are 3 songs today that really bring that to life. You may recall a little while ago now, I did a video on Ed Sheeran, and in that video I talked about the fact that home is such an important thing. Now, home is more than just a place that you can sit down and flop and go, oh, thank goodness I'm home. Home is more than that. Home is an attitude. Home is a way of being. Home is a place where your values and your view of life are formed. And so wherever you may go in this world, if you end up actually travelling overseas or working in another place, you carry those values with you, and in a sense carry your home with you, so that when you might find yourself in a place that's a bit unusual and a bit new, you've got these values that you can fall back on. You know who you are in this world. And certainly there's a couple of songs today of Bob's that really bring this to light. And I suppose, of course, old time rock and roll is stating some values of what he believes is cool about music and why he loves performing music. But there's another song, I suppose another classic of his is Hollywood Nights. And this is the story of a guy that sort of leaves home and meets a girl, and it's all just a little bit too far away, a little bit too unfamiliar, and a little bit strange. And it just tells the story of this guy learning what life is all about in a different place. Um, and there's another song of Bob Seger's called Like a Rock. And this the clip for this song, which we'll get onto in a minute, has been hailed as a very creative, very significant, and very important clip. Because in this clip, we have Bob Seger in his current version looking at Bob Seger as the younger version, 20 years earlier. How often do we want to, talk to our younger selves and say, hey, what on earth did you leave me with? Why did you leave me like this? Why did you make the decisions you made? Why? That's one way of looking at it, I suppose. And I suppose for me, certainly, there are elements of things you think, well, I really didn't choose well there, perhaps. In just some of the things you do. But there are some other elements that you looking back and think, yeah, you know what? That was okay. That was pretty good. And certainly in Like a Rock, Bob Seger is looking back at his younger self. And I suppose he sees younger self as a guy who knew who he was, a guy who knew what his values were and what was important, and a guy that also had friends around him who he connected with. And as this big, massive, long train is going between his younger self and him, he just reflects back of the fact that, yes, when I was younger, I kind of set my world off in a good way. I knew what was important. I knew I wanted to play music. That was my dream, and I've kept to my dream. And how great to be able to look back and to be able to see the dream come to reality, because certainly for Bob Seger, 75 million albums sold is a pretty good effort. A man that has been true to his vision and his dream and has found success in it. So it's really good to be able to look back and to see where you were and to see where you are now, and almost give your younger self a pat on the shoulder. Now, if you look at life, if you're looking at life right now thinking, well, I can't do that at all. Well, I reckon there are some elements in there. Maybe we just need to look a bit harder. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I got bullied at school a lot, and I was very shy and very timid and very weak. And it's almost like I couldn't make decisions because I was just unable, because there was just no confidence at all. But you know what? When I look back and think, well, I didn't become bitter through those experiences. I could have become bitter, and I could have become, oh, woe is me the whole time. But that, I suppose, feeling of inadequacy, that's a feeling that I've been able to empathise with others about. And so when I see people struggling and I see people who are not sure who they are, I can think, well, let's not beat ourselves up too much about that, because there is something good in all of us. It doesn't matter how we feel, there's something good in all of us. And they're the things that we can hang on to. And certainly recently, I've been employed in a job where they saw value in that and they employed that. It's quite an amazing story for me to actually be able to experience that. And I suppose also to be given the freedom to be able to exercise my values and what I see as important in my new role. Because the workplace realises that the best thing they can do is to let me do that. So it does happen. Certainly when I was a teenager, man, life was scary, life was hard, life was like I didn't have any hope for the future at all, and I just ambled from one thing to the next. But you eventually make a decision about what is important. And for me, I suppose one thing that is important is that I'm a positive influence to people that I meet. That's one of the reasons that I do these videos, is to be an encouragement to anybody who happens to be watching. I could have chosen to be bitter and to not do that, but life has been a little bit rewarding because I've chosen to get alongside people who are struggling, people who just need someone to talk to. And certainly it seems to follow me around wherever I go, because I suppose I see myself as available. But at the same time, there's nothing special about me either. I'm just a guy trying to work out life like the rest of us. So I may look back at my younger self thinking, oh my goodness, what a sad person that was. But when I look forward now and see that actually I am making some differences in some small ways in my small part of the world, well, perhaps it wasn't all bad. And I'm thinking today, as I even say these words, I've probably never looked at those earlier pictures in this way before. But maybe this video has got me to look at that a bit differently now. So good on you, Bob Seger, particularly the song "Like a Rock," to be able to reflect like that, and to realise that it's not a completely lost cause. There is hope and light and positivity in each one of us. Even with you, if you are watching this video at 3 o'clock in the morning and wondering what tomorrow's going to look like, even you have positivity and hope. And if we're not, giving to the world with all that we know about ourselves right now, well, the world's missing out, and the world could just be slightly better because of the difference you could make. And Bob Seger certainly has made a difference in the world. He's a rock music legend, and 75 million albums sold worldwide, and he's been able to get people to think about life and what makes life important. So if you are in a situation right now where you're looking back and thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't made the best choices, that's in the past. You can still make good choices going forward. And if you know what a bad choice looks like, well, perhaps you'll know not to make bad choices again. You can make different choices going forward, because no matter what age we are, whether we're 20 or 30 or 60 or 70, we still have time left to make a difference in this world. This is what Bob Seger is saying as we explore the world in songs like Hollywood Nights, where we're exploring the world and seeing what the world has to offer, and then be able to look back at that exploration and to be able to say, like a rock, because I'm still standing. It's a really, really good thing to be able to say. So I trust that will all be an encouragement for you today. You are a person of worth and a person of value, and yes, you can bring light to this world. Well, on to the clips today. And yes, we have to have old-time rock and roll and Hollywood Nights. Both of those songs are live versions, and both of those songs came off the Stranger in Town album from 1978. I quite like the title of that album, given the song Hollywood Nights in particular. I love Hollywood Nights. It's Bob Seger at his absolute best, and it's really such a compelling story that he tells through this song. And we've also got the official clip to Like a Rock that came off the album of the same name in 1986. And again, you'll see what I mean as Bob looks back at his younger self as this big, massive, long, massive, never-ending train goes by that they have to wait for. It forces him to stop and reflect on what is important to him. So I trust you'll enjoy that one. And I thought I'd also just include too um, because old time rock and roll also featured in the movie Risky Business. This is probably one of Tom Cruise's breakthrough movies, and there's just a bit of a clip with him dancing to old time rock and roll. So for a bit of fun, I thought I'd just chuck that one in there as well for you to have a look at. So have a look at all of those or some of those, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. And I hope, particularly as you can look at like a rock in particular, that you may have the chance to reflect, like I have a little bit, on our younger selves and what we were like back then. And perhaps it's not all as bad as we thought. And by the way, I've also included my commentary on the Blues Brothers from last time too. So if you want to look at that one and recap, feel free to look at that. Well, that's it for today. If you do like this video, it's fantastic that you've come back, and thank you for hanging around. If you've watched this one to the end, that's fantastic as well. Well, we go from a rock legend today to another legend, I suppose, next time. So until then, I'll catch you around.